Hey everybody, my name is Dr. Amy Woszczynski, and I'm Professor of Information Systems at Kennesaw State University, and I'm excited to be the teacher for your course. I've been at Kennesaw State University since 2000. This is my home. Go Owls. Many of my students, instead of calling me Dr. Woszczynski, they call me Dr. Amy. I'm fine with your calling me Amy or Dr. W or whatever you find comfortable. I'm pretty flexible. Woszczynski is absolutely my husband's fault. Here's a super secret way to remember how to spell it. W-O-S, zebra cat, zebra, Y-N-S-K-I. There will not be a test on this at the end of the day. While work is very important to me, my family always comes first, probably like many of you. I have two sons, both young adults, still living at home, working and saving money for a first house, I hope. As I said, family is important, and these two are definitely my focus. Luna and Hershey. These two fur babies unexpectedly barged into our lives when they were 5 weeks old and only 2.2 and 2.8 pounds. It was like having twins for a couple of months. They're my babies. I love them more than my kids. Don't tell my kids. Well, my kids already know. And my husband retired, but did teach astronomy in Cherokee County until this year. As they say in the South, bless his heart. Before he started teaching, he worked for many years as a meteorologist at the Weather Channel. He was not on air, but he told the people on air what to say. He also had the distinction of being part of the project group of just a few people who launched weather.com for the first time on CompuServe, no less. Look it up. And weather.com, a bright guy named Alan Gallenbach at the Weather Channel reserved the URL from the internet back in August 1994 when there wasn't an internet yet. What great foresight. In the early days of the internet, when we needed weather information, we typed weather.com and voila, the Weather Channel was there. Now let me give you some information on my industry experience. Prior to joining academia, I worked for about 10 years in industry. After earning my bachelor's degree in industrial engineering from Georgia Tech, go Jackets! I'm a rambling wreck from Georgia Tech, and I'll let you fill in the rest. After that, I began work as an apparel engineer at Sewell Manufacturing Company in Bremen, Georgia, just north of Carrollton. Sewell made men's and women's tailored suits for companies such as Lands' End and Colors by Alexander Julian. I moved up to assistant plant manager after about 7 months there, supervising the engineering and office staff and supporting the plant manager and the director of manufacturing. I began the MBA program at KSU while working at Sewell. Sewell moved to Heflin, Alabama shortly after I left, and they mostly went out of business after that. As you probably know, very little apparel is manufactured in the United States anymore. After Sewell, I moved to Ram Stiles, who made uniforms for Delta Airlines and Steak and Shake and many others. Ram Stiles, like Sewell, went out of business shortly after I left. At least most places waited until I left to go out of business. After Ram Stiles, I went to Amona Corporation, which is now part of Coloplast Corporation, so they didn't technically go out of business. Amona manufactured external breast prostheses for women who underwent a mastectomy. I was brought in to launch an apparel line for the breast prostheses, including breast covers and bras. Amona's brand is still highly regarded in this niche market. Along the way, I used technology whenever I could, trying to find a way to be innovative and use it in my daily responsibilities. With my interest in technology and teaching, I did change careers. I taught at Career Development Institute in Atlanta, a proprietary school which offered computer science and technology-related degrees. I really enjoyed teaching there. Incidentally, they also went out of business. The C-level executives in Minnesota misused federal education funds given to students. That's a no-no. Some of those people, the upper people not in our office, were blacklisted from ever working anywhere that received federal funding. I know criminal prosecution was started, but I don't know the final outcome. I left 1 week before the feds put the padlock on the door. Most people stayed that week without pay. It was the second week we had not been paid, so I went home and asked them to call me when they could pay me. 3 years later, I received about $800 of the $3,000 they owed me. Meanwhile, I moved to Troutman Sanders Law Firm, a very large law firm in Midtown Atlanta at the Bank of America building. Our offices were on the 46th through the 52nd floors. There I developed databases, conducted training, created training, documented training, and provided all sorts of technical support to whatever was going on. While at Troutman Sanders, I applied to and was accepted to Clemson University's PhD program. Go Tigers! I'm not as big of a Clemson fan, but still. I spent 2 years living in Clemson completing my coursework for the PhD program. Then I accepted a full-time job offer at Georgia State and was there for 2 years while I finished my dissertation and, oh yeah, had a baby too. My KSU teachers in the MBA program were the best I've ever had, truly. They encouraged and mentored me. They are why I pursued and completed the PhD program. My life would probably have been very different if I had not gone down this path. When I finished my dissertation in 2000, KSU had a job opening, and it was a good fit. I've been here ever since. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. How many people can say that? I do know how fortunate I am. I do my best to emulate my best KSU professors, treating students with respect, offering advice when requested, and sometimes when not requested, and facilitating classroom discussions. Let me share my teaching background. I teach in the BS in Cybersecurity program and the MS in Information Systems program. I served as interim chair, assistant chair of the IS department for a couple of years as well, and I'm happy to be back in the classroom with students now. I served as the MSI's program director for over 10 years and remain passionate about the students and the classes. I teach classes in informatics, legal and ethical issues in IS, and cybersecurity. At the beginning of 2024, I was asked to coordinate the BS in Cybersecurity program as it moved from CCSE to the College of Business. It's been a lot of work to get the move process, but we are making good progress, and it's been fun too. I research at the intersection of diversity, law, ethics, and IS. I'll share a couple of recent articles with you to give you an idea of what types of research I conduct. I've studied methods of improving IS and cybersecurity education. With a team of co-authors in the Web MBA program, I led a study that applied Agile principles to development of the MBA IS course. While Agile has been studied in many contexts, of course, a detailed analysis in the area of developing information systems and security education was lacking. This research gave us the opportunity to improve the teaching of the MIS course in the MBA program and was an opportunity to link research with practice. More recently, I've begun to research in areas related to management of information security technologies and recommendations for changes. For instance, with a team of 2 undergraduate students and Dr. Andy Green, we analyzed vulnerabilities in southeastern U.S. emergency alert systems. Let's just say the results didn't improve my confidence that the systems will work properly. I was also very excited to be able to publish an academic paper that has zombies and Lady Gaga in the title. Dr. Green wasn't as happy about it as I was, but the reviewers seemed to like it. In that paper, we looked at coordinated vulnerability disclosure policies as a way to improve the security of U.S. emergency alert systems. Although we would like to think that critical infrastructure systems at the local, state, and national levels are secure, accurate, and timely, we identified critical problems in emergency alert systems and proposed steps to mitigate the risk. We don't want to have another zombie apocalypse, as was broadcast by Emergency Systems in 2013. Google it. It really happened, and it's kind of interesting. And we don't want another 2018 broadcast from Hawaii that says, incoming ballistic missile alert, take cover immediately. What do you do with that information? That was, of course, inaccurate. Last year, we wrote a paper on vulnerability discovery and disclosure policies, surveying cybersecurity researchers, not hackers. I really don't like the misuse of that word, on their likelihood to report vulnerabilities they discover. Interestingly, we got hit by a survey bot, even though we had CAPTCHA questions and tried to prevent attacks. The best laid plans. I also have a paper that should be coming out that looks at musicology and how the listener's home culture might be used to improve song recommendation systems. This project resulted from a student who came into one of my classes and said he wanted to research on musicology. I was intrigued and ended up serving on his thesis committee where he did the initial analysis. We published initially at a conference and now at a journal, which is always a goal. If you have project ideas that align with my interests, you never know what might happen. I've published with graduate and undergraduate students, and I'm always looking for people who are interested in getting involved with research. Finally, I have another paper in development with data collected that looks at why students choose IS or IT graduate majors. We have the data collected for that and we'll be writing soon. We also have 2 more papers to come out of the vulnerability discovery and disclosure model and multiple papers in the future. And I'm chairing the dissertation committee of a PhD and IS student who's looking at fintech and banked and unbanked consumers. I've got a lot going on, but that's how I like it. In my spare time, I like to walk on the treadmill or outside. Not enough lately. I also love reading books and often do the treadmill and books together. I'm not talking about reading the textbook for this course or academic articles, both of which can be thrilling, of course. I do read the textbook and read and write academic articles, but I love to read fun books like mystery, suspense, horror, post-apocalyptic, zombie, etc. I like any genre that is well written. Reading is one of my passions. Like many of you, I'm sure all of you, I also like binge watching Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and Apple Plus and Max and YouTube and TV. Side note, how would we have survived the pandemic without streaming services? I enjoy really diverse types of shows, although I'm swayed towards science fiction here recently. I like Silo and Severance and Fallout and The Last of Us and Game of Thrones and Better Call Saul and Dexter. The movies I enjoy are equally diverse, although I shy away from romance and romantic comedies. I've already seen enough of those in my life. Even before the pandemic, I did most of my work at home. The only exception was that meetings moved online, and that was a good thing. My guess is that many companies who thought work from home initiatives would lead to lower efficiency and effectiveness found just the opposite. I know I have. I work at times that are flexible. That doesn't mean I work only when I want to work, but I choose when I do my work. I'm a night owl, so I do most of my work after the sun goes down. You'll see that pattern in my grading and in my emails to you. One time I responded to a student email at 1:15 a.m. after a student had emailed me at 1 a.m. Their response, "Why are you answering email at 1:15 a.m.? Well, because you sent it at 1 a.m. If you send a message at 8 a.m., it might be a while. It's discouraging that some companies have moved away from the work from home and are requiring employees to come back to the office. I think that's a mistake. Surely we have similarities. You might like dogs, or have a family, or enjoy reading, or binge watching series, doesn't everybody? Or perhaps your professional background or education are similar to mine. I find we have more similarities than differences. Classes are always diverse, which make the conversations more engaging and interesting, and often provoke me to think in different ways. Here I mean diversity not just as race, sex, ethnicity, and so forth, but a broad diversity in how we were raised, where we were born, how we think, how old we are, where we live, who we love, what we do in our spare time. So while you may see me in business casual attire when if I'm about out and about at KSU, what you may not know is that I'm sitting at my work sectional, perhaps with sleeping puppies nearby, and maybe wearing my I thought this was a Zoom meeting bottoms. They're not pajamas or even lounge clothes. They are athleisure. You've learned a little about me. Now I'd like for you to introduce yourself. Follow the guidelines in the syllabus to share a little bit of your story with the class. I'm looking forward to getting to know you and to a great class.